This is a tarot reading for the Chinese New Year, for the entire year of the dragon, which starts on February the 10th. Now, it's the Lunar New Year, so it isn't exactly a year, but it lasts around a year. And February the 10th is quite late, so the date shifts every year. But it's somewhere around the end of January, beginning of February always. If you're unsure of what Chinese zodiac sign you are, if you look in my notes, there's a crib there which lets you know. And it's based on the year that you were born, rather than the month that you were born in. But if you're born at the end of the year, it's a little bit more complicated, and you'd need to look it up. So this is a yearly reading for the year of the dragon, for the sign of the tiger. So tigers, your reading looks to be a microcosm of the things that go on throughout the year. And like a few readings we've had for the year of the dragon, it looks to be a case of all's well that ends well. So it's not a year without its challenges, but it does appear to be a year in which you end up getting what you want, overcoming the difficulties. If we look at that central card, we have the King of Pentacles. Somebody that's good with money, somebody that's wise with money. Is the reading about money? I think it probably is. Certainly in the past we have a card of poverty, or poverty and no mates. So many people have lost money, lost jobs, lost businesses as a result of the health crisis, and the turmoil that's happened ever since then. And maybe you're one of those people. Your current energy is one of deception. Well, I think we're all realising how we've been deceived. How when we were locked up in our homes, the rich were getting richer and the poor were getting poorer. And maybe you're one of those poor who've got poorer. Nevertheless, in the future, there's some victories for you. This is probably not in this year, but after this year. But some victories, and maybe making people jealous of your victories as well. What leads to the outcome is teamwork, working with others. Now, because of the outcome is a good outcome, it would seem to be suggesting that teamwork is a good thing to be doing during the year of the dragon. However, what would change the outcome is the Lover's card, and it's a beautiful, beautiful card. So it's sort of suggesting that if you fall in love, you change the outcome. And that doesn't make much sense, because the outcome is a card of happy families. So it's almost as though if you work with others, maybe you end up marrying them. Maybe you get happy families and multiple blessings. But is there another love here in the background? And it's rather odd because, as I say, I think the overall energy is one that's about money or wealth. So we need to look at this in greater detail for you, Tigers. Now, when I said this is the year of the dragon, it's the year of the water dragon. So the energy of the water dragon is a very powerful energy, but quite a grounded energy. It's often about money. I don't like to use the word money because in 2004, money as we know it might disappear. Certainly CDCs are going to be introduced. I don't think that's what most people would describe money as. However, the energy that runs through it is an energy associated with money, certainly with wealth and finances, and a degree of sophistication in terms of wealth and finances, which suggests that's you. I think it's an energy of overcoming your financial problems. I mean, maybe it's overcoming your preoccupation that money means everything. I don't know it, but it could be. Maybe simply thinking about what you really want in life and seeing something else other than this man-made construct that we call money. I think money probably has dominated your thinking in the past, and probably is something that's very important during this year. But whether or not you overcome it, and I think, let me say that tarot reading isn't fortune telling. You have free will. All it does is taps into energies that impact on your conscious and subconscious. And there does appear to be a junction within the year whereby you can choose, shall we say, love or money? Don't take that at too simplistic a level. I think it's a choice between the material and a choice between being guided by love. Well, that's how I see it at the moment, but let's find out. Now, I don't blame you for being somewhat preoccupied with money, because I suspect you've lost money in the recent past. Maybe a business folded, maybe you lost a job. Something as a result of the health crisis has harmed you. I mean, I don't actually earn money anyway, so it's not had a big impact on me. But the massive cost of flying has definitely impacted on my pocket. Even though I was doing nothing, I wasn't able to move around or get off the island of Java for 3 years. But the cost of doing things, even though many things were very cheap, the cost of compliance and doing things ate into all of the money that I'd saved. So while I didn't actually lose money, I wasn't spending my money on the things that I choose to be spending them on. So, I think we're all feeling a certain loss. It could also mean that you're feeling like you don't have any friends. It's a sort of a psychological thing, even though you might say, well, no, I really did lose money, but it is a psychological thing that, you can overcome, and there's always hope. So I don't want to push it too hard, but I think that's behind my feeling that this is maybe a reading about the psychology of money or your feelings towards money. Like myself, while I was stuck on the island of Java for 3 years, much of the time not allowed to go into shopping malls, not allowed to use public transport, go into government offices. And as I say, even though, because my I was very restricted in what I could do. Some of the things that I needed to do cost a lot more money. So I didn't really save any money as a result of not doing anything. I was just depressed. And it's even more depressing when you find that the rich seized this opportunity to become even richer. And of course it was us who forfeited the money. So there is a sense of deception right now that I think we're all waking up to. We all realise what was happening while we were locked in our homes, or certainly preoccupied, or locked behind a mask, frightened of speaking to others, when some didn't seem to be at all concerned about it and were busy planning how they would divide up the riches that were there for the taking. So I think there is this growing realisation of deception, and you have it as well. Am I going overboard on global events, and this is something personal to you? Well, maybe, but this does feel to be a spread that is very much influenced by global events. Now, as I say, things do get better for you. And in the future, we have the energy of you having, and by the future, I probably mean outside this year, but you scoring some victories. These are battles rather than wars, but nevertheless, they're victories. So you're moving in the right direction. However, in doing so, you are making others jealous. There's a lot of ways I could interpret that. And maybe I shouldn't just, I was going to say maybe I shouldn't just yet. Do you know, I've got the feeling that maybe what's behind this is that there's been deception. You've been thrown into what you perceive as poverty. And I think you're just grasping and going, oh, things are back to normal now. I too can share in the bounty that appears to be there. Now that could be what this is about, and that you are creating what you seem to be a normality for yourself, but others are dubious of you as a result. It might be even ostentatious shows of wealth. And, who can blame you if you do have this feeling of poverty from the previous year, that now you begin to stabilise once more, that you want to indulge somewhat, but it will make people jealous. Now, what leads to the outcome is teamwork. And given that the outcome is a good outcome, I think we all are being encouraged to work as teams. It's a sort of teamwork that involves synergy, whereby we've each got our specialisms, and that we come together to create something that we couldn't create all by ourselves. And yeah, that's very much the energy that we're being encouraged to do, a more sort of communal approach to working together, which doesn't fit with my idea of this sort of, in the future, you being a somewhat rugged individual, fighting your battles, winning but making others jealous. I think it would be going too far to suggest that you're somewhat manipulative. But I do get that feeling, Tiger. Now, rather surprisingly, what would change the outcome is the Lover's card. It's divine love, it's a wonderful love. Is it a new love? Could be. Is it actually talking about love? I mean, it's got to be because it's the Lover's card, but is it talking about love in the way that I've described it? I wonder. If you remember, I said maybe it was about the psychology of money or the psychology of materialism. So the foil to that is love. And I've had for quite a few signs in this year of the dragon, this sort of dichotomy between, are you going to pursue materialism or are you going to fill your heart full of love and be guided by love? Because there's no doubt in my mind that the last year there was a major and fundamental change in the universe. A major and fundamental change which began to sweep away the greed, the materialism, the manipulation, the lies. And indeed there will be karma for those who've engaged in it. And encouraging us to fill our hearts full of love and be guided by love. Is that what this is about? I think it could be. I think it could be. You see, the outcome is seemingly about love as well. Remember, it comes out of teamwork. I wonder if as working as a part of a team you meet somebody. I don't know. Is it about love? It's about happy families. It's about multiple blessings. But is it about showing off your wealth through your family? I'm getting the feeling that it is, you know. If you look at this actual rendering, do you see the woman down there? She's looking up at them, almost jealous, isn't she? And it's a bit like the outcome. I said you have these victories, but they're small victories, but you make people jealous. So ostentatious shows of wealth would maybe make people jealous. I'm reminded of something my wife said to me yesterday, and she is jealous over me, but she's not jealous over other people's wealth at all. But a very good friend of her married a Chinese man who, like many Chinese, he's very much an entrepreneur, and they started all sorts of businesses, and she started sending my wife pictures of her expensive handbags and then her very expensive home. And, you know, my wife really doesn't covet those sorts of things, and she's not impressed. Well, in fact, I'll say exactly what my wife said to me. She said, why is she sending me these pictures? I'm only interested if I've got them. And she didn't mean that in a jealous way. All she meant was, look, if I have a nice handbag, it's great, but it makes me feel good. You know, I don't share it with anybody else. And I don't suppose my wife, I mean, she might want a house that was the sort of size of her friends, but she wouldn't want it in a Chinese area where this was, you know. She wouldn't want to live in one of those communities. You might see that as a degree of racism, but well, maybe it is. But, you know, the Chinese community I'm thinking of, it's a gated community, you know, where everyone's trying to keep up with the Joneses. It's not the life either I or my wife would want. And it's not a part of Jakarta where either of us would want to live. So having a big or fairly big mansion in a gated community doesn't appeal to either of us. I wonder, am I taking this too far? Let's get some clarification on this. And I'm going to seek clarification on this teamwork card, because it doesn't make total sense how the teamwork leads to the outcome. And the first card we get is the Hanged Man, biding your time to see the lay of the land. The next card we get is that of the Ten of Wands. Struggles, feel like you've got the burden of the world on your back. But an end is in sight. And then the final card is the Ten of Cups, which is another card of love. Blessings in love. Gosh. Not certain I've got my interpretation right now. Now, I've just spotted what the real interpretation is, and I'm not far off. I don't know if you spotted it. But I'll save it until we get to the final card of clarification. The first card is that of the Hanged Man. That's waiting around, seeing the lie of the land. So, you know, you've been feeling in poverty, you're aware of deception, and you're seeing things going on and you're not showing your hand. You're just waiting around before you commit to something. How does that relate to teamwork? It doesn't seem to, does it? Doesn't seem to. But we'll come to it. And another card that doesn't seem to explain this teamwork, but I totally get in the context of what we're talking about. The Ten of Wands. Feeling like you're carrying an extra burden, maybe the worries of the world on your back. Life's a bit of a struggle. Well, we've said that before, haven't we? Life has been a bit of a struggle for you. But you do have a feeling that an end is in sight. Very much so. Let me return to something I said earlier, and it was just a feeling I had then. But that was that you've been through struggles. You understand there's been deception. But you're sort of waiting for things to get back to normal. And to take your slice of what you see as the materialism on offer. And I do think that's entirely relevant. And now we have a card of love, of many blessings, but in particular love blessings. Remember, this is about the teamwork. What could that possibly mean? And this is the thing that came to me. Well, of course, it's seeing your partner or love in very materialistic ways. And I don't necessarily mean a trophy wife. And thinking of my wife's friend, I mean, she was very beautiful. She put on a lot of weight shortly after getting married. But, you know, she was very beautiful. She'd have been a catch for anybody, particularly this Chinese man. But she wasn't really a trophy wife because of the businesses they did were together. They both worked hard for it. They both worked hard to create the wealth. You know, I'm not... There's no jealousy on my behalf, and I'm just saying it isn't what either I or my wife would want. And I also need to tell you that my wife's grandmother was Chinese. So, you know, even though I say there might be a degree of racism in it, you know, it's not really racism, is it, when my wife is part Chinese? No, it's the sort of idea of a wife and family as being a business relationship. And what I want to say to you, Tiger, is if this sort of materialistic way of living, seeing things in terms of business, makes you happy, then who am I to criticise? You will make people jealous, but then that you intended to do that. Why else would you send pictures of expensive handbags and your mansion to your friends? So you intended to make people jealous. That's what you get off on. But I don't want to be nasty to you, just as my wife wouldn't be nasty to her friend. It's just like, what the hell do I want to see it for? Yeah. So I don't want to criticise you, but I've had this with other signs in this year of the wood dragon. And that is, if you want to pursue these materialistic things in this very materialistic way, it's open to you to do. But there is something else that could happen that's much, much better in this year. So I think we can summarise for you now. Tiger, I think you're very motivated by wealth. And I think you're probably also motivated by showing off your wealth. And that does inevitably make some people jealous, but that's their problem, not yours. If you get off on this, then this is going to be a good year for you. And you'll be happy to hear that, because you certainly have struggled in the past. Probably struggled with money. You've probably lost money in the past. There's been deception. Now, I don't know if this is personal to you or it's part of the world deception of the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer with every crisis. Almost as though these crises are manufactured to do exactly that. And you're going to meet somebody that I believe you marry, and you're going to be very happy together, because I think you're similar people. You're both motivated by materialism. You both like ostentatious shows of wealth, and you work together as a sort of family business, or work off each other. And that is the focus of your world. You both like showing it off, You both like keeping up with the Joneses, as we say in England. And it must feel like a great relief to you, because, you have struggled. You have struggled. It has been difficult for you. And you're probably saying, well, I deserve it, And who could blame you? Who could blame you? But there is an alternative. And the alternative is to really be filled with love, and to be guided by love, and to reject this materialism. To follow a path whereby everything you do is as a result of love, in love. It might be the same person as this. I said wife, did I? Implying that you're male. Did I? I'm not sure. But you could well, it's a 50% chance you're female, isn't it? So Tiger, it could be the same person that you see as moulding your business together. It's not necessarily a different person. It's just seeing the world in a completely different way. Now, what I would tell you is the world has definitely changed. It changed last year. And this greed, this materialism, these lies, these deceptions are going to be swept away. And those engaged in them are going to get their karma. I'm not saying you are. But, these past deceptions, people are going to get a karmic response to it. And what's going to work in the new world is love and compassion. And you are being offered the opportunity to do that, but I don't think you take it. And I'm not blaming you. I'm not having a go at you. If you were really happy with your ostentatious shows of wealth, with your somewhat isolated family, then we all need to find happiness, you know? Please don't think I'm being critical.